Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the Taft City Council Successor Agency, a joint regular meeting for Tuesday, February 17th, 2015, here at Taft City Hall. I'd appreciate it if you check your cell phones and put them on vibrate or mute before we get started. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda is made available always to the public inspection at the lobby of Taft City Hall. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Hill, and we'll have an invocation by Bob Jordan.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we thank you for being part of this great nation. We ask you to bless this state, bless this county, and bless this town. Bless every soul who is either elected or appointed, and may they pick up your wisdom in their decisions they have to make. Father, we ask you to bless every soul within this building. Guide us, lead us to your right way through the name, power, and authority of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Thank you, Councilman Hill. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Miller?
Here.
Councilmember Pryor?
Here.
Councilmember Bryant?
Here.
Councilmember Hill?
Here.
And Mayor Pro Tem will be here.
He said he'd be a few minutes late. We'll move on to item number 1. Public hearing zoning ordinance amendment 2014-13, emergency shelters, transitional and supportive housing. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. In 2007, the state legislature passed Senate Bill 2, SB 2, otherwise known as the Bill for Local Planning and Approval for Emergency Shelters and Transitional and Supportive Housing. The bill amended housing element law to ensure local zoning ordinances encouraged and facilitated emergency shelters and limited the denial of emergency shelters and transitional supportive housing consistent with the Housing Accountability Act. At the December 3rd, 2014 Planning Commission meeting, City staff presented the final draft of the amendment to the chapters 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 12 of Title 6, the Taft zoning ordinance regarding emergency shelters, transitional and supportive housing. The commission approved the amendment unanimously with no further additions or deletions. Staff has since forwarded the amendments for a compliance review to the California Department of Housing and Community Development for a 30-day review from December 29, 2014 to January 28, 2015, and received no comments or suggested revisions. Since this has been written, we have had a comment from HCD where we have had a comment there, sending a comment, so you have the recommended action for this item to continue this until the next council meeting.
Okay, I'm going to open a public hearing, and I have a statement to read. In response to a phone call from the Department of Housing and Community Development, staff is requesting that this public hearing be continued to the next regularly scheduled City Council meeting to allow time to address the comments and questions from HCD. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until the next regularly scheduled meeting on March 3rd, 2015 at 6 p.m., allowing staff sufficient time to address comments and questions from HCD.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
No comment.
Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Noor?
Yes.
Councilmember Pryor?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Miller?
Yes. Item number 2, report and public hearing to educate and inform citizens of the types of eligibility activities available for the city's 2015 Community Development Block Grant CDBG program application and take citizen input. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. The Community Development and Economic Development allocations of the state CDBG program have published a notice of funding availability for fiscal year 2015. Eligible cities and counties may submit applications for CDBG funds under the NOFA, and the City of Taft anticipates submitting an application for funding. It is estimated that up to $2 million will be available in total. The The economic development over-the-counter allocation requires a separate application with a maximum limit of $3 million per year. Eligible activities under the above allocation of the NOFA consist of homeownership assistance and housing rehabilitation programs, public facility and public improvement projects, public service programs, planning studies, economic development, business assistance, and micro-enterprise activities. Eligible activities paid for this with the state CDBG funds must meet one or more of the 3 national objectives listed in the CDBG federal statutes as below. Benefit to low-income households or persons, elimination of slums and blight, or meeting urgent community development need. Applications are due to CDBG no later than April 10, 2015, and a separate public hearing will be held to discuss and approve the city's application prior to submit.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones. Recommended action is to hold a public hearing and receive citizen comments and input to assist with the planning and preparation of the city's 2015 CDBG program application. I open the meeting, public hearing. Is there any persons wishing to come forward and comment on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close the meeting and we will come back to this in April. Okay. What we'd like to do is kind of change the agenda since we have all the players in the house tonight and moved on to item number 5, appoint a representative to the West Side Recreation and Park District Board to fill an unscheduled vacancy. And Mr. Jones?
Pursuant to Section 5783.5 of the California Resources Code and Cities Policy regarding appointments to boards and commissions, notice has been duly advertised informing those interested to submit an application for serving on the West Side Recreation and Park District Board. City of Taft Administrative Policies and Procedures Manual Section 103 states that 2 members of the West Side Recreation and Park District are appointed by the City Council, and they must remain registered voters within the city during the entire term of the appointment. Pursuant to Section 5783.5, 5783.13, and 5784.3 of the California Public Resources Code and Section 1779 of the California Government Code, the City Council appointments are for 4-year terms. Position need to be appointed as an unscheduled vacancy due to resignation of Bill McPherson. Several applications were received by the January 23rd deadline. The applicants were verified registered voters living within the city limits, City of Taft, by the city clerk. They were invited to this meeting to be prepared to tell a little bit about themselves and perhaps answer a few questions by the City Council. Applicants were received from Don Black, Roy Highmiller, Robert Jordan, Jordan Miller, and Marlene Mudge.
Before we begin, I need to let everybody know that 2 people are not here tonight. Robert Jordan and Marlene Mudge, they both could not make the meeting, but we have their letters and resumes for the staff, for council to consider. Since I have a conflict of interest because I have a relative and kind of figure that one out, I have to step down and I will turn the meeting over to Mayor Pro Tem Dave Noor.
Do I have to change seats, Mr. Mayor?
Well, you can if you want to.
I'll just try to fill your shoes. I won't fill your chair.
I showered this morning.
We're going to have to let Mayor Miller leave the room in order to obey all the rules and regulations concerning these issues. All right. We're going to open the dais to, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry?
I had a blank too. I was reading something.
Oh, nominations.
Nominations.
My goodness. I'll have to leave work behind and get into city council mode.
You have allowed them to give statements to you, those that are here. You invited them to give statements, so you may want to allow those that don't speak to you.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I thought that was done last time, but it was continued because I was unable to make it. That would only be fair. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we have 2, Robert Jordan and Marlene Mudge not being able to make it. all the council members have the resumes and statements by these individuals, had an opportunity to read them. I see no need to read them aloud then. However, we do have 3 in the audience. I don't see Roy Heimler. Is he hiding in there? There you are, Roy, right behind Dawn. Okay. All right then, let's do that. Let's invite each of these individuals up here to address the council. Roy Heimler, would you like to come up here and address the council, please? Will you state your name and address for the record?
Roy Heimler, 131 Lucard, here in Taft. Just tell you a little bit about myself. I submitted the resume. I came to Taft in 1981, went to work for the city fire department, and worked for the city for about 26 years. Started out as firefighter, progressed to engineer, captain, and actually was the chief for a brief time. In 2007, the city contracted with the county of Kern. Went to work for the Kern County Fire Department, and I'm currently a captain stationed out in Fellows area. I have a wife, 7 children, 3 of which are in school age, so I have a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. And they participate very heavily in the recreation district. My educational background, I've attended Bakersfield College, Taft College, National Fire Academy, graduated from schools in Bakersfield, North High School. Couldn't help that. But I've been in Taft for almost 34 years. I think it's really important to get involved in the community. When I saw this opportunity arise, I thought it was important to take the step. Is there any other questions you would have for me? I know that was really brief, but I thought you wanted it brief since you had a resume. I can go in more in depth if you want.
You know, if we have individual questions from the council members, Roy, then I'm sure you can answer them. I'm going to jump in there and start. I've known Roy Heimler and his wife and his family since about 1991. And they are family people. They work very hard to raise their children, and a few extras on the backside, their waning years of your career, huh, Roy?
Yep.
Roy is a family man, and he's community-minded. He was a part of the fire department before we contracted with the county. And when Roy came to me some time ago, and he was the first in the community to come to me, voicing an opportunity or saying that he was interested in taking advantage of the opportunity to serve on the Parks and Rec Board. Having known Roy for so long, and since he was the first one to come talk to me about it, I told Roy that I would support his application. In point of fact, when this matter was coming before the council just to be put on the agenda, Roy was in the audience, and so that was my fault, Roy, and I was sure to point that fact out to everybody. So I will tell you, Roy, that I will indeed support your application to this position.
Thank you.
And before we go too far, I want to thank everybody, including the people that aren't able to be here this evening, for their interest. I myself served on the Parks and Rec Board, and it's a very important part of this community and does great things, and has come a long way. So big supporter of the Parks and Rec and what they do as well. Anyway, that's my statement concerning your being interested in this position, so I will allow the other council members if they'd like to ask you any specific questions.
I have more of a comment. Well, let me add a question too. The city will be appointing, where we choose among the 5, to represent the city.
Yes.
The county has their representative at the county and so forth. And so for the best interest of the city. And the city, we're more concerned about our youth, having activities, and how the money's spent, watching the treasurer a little bit, and I'm sure it's spent wisely. And I know for a fact that the rec is running very, very well. I think highly of the director, and
They have a great staff.
they're doing a really good job there and everything. I'd like to continue what they're doing, and so that nobody has self-interest in there and
I'd just like to be a part of that. I think it's exciting what they're doing.
that'd be my concern, is that, you grew up in the city, and you're doing what's best for the citizens and the youth of the city and the west side, because you go outside the area, you cover a big area.
Right.
Actually, all the way to McKittrick and Destin, Valley Acres, and all of Taft and Maricopa. It's a big area, so you're in a lot of representation there. Anyway, thank you.
Councilmember Bryant?
I really just want to echo a lot of sentiments you both put forth. As far as I've known Roy indirectly for a few years now. I actually attended high school and junior high school with both Justin and Chucky. Now that I've got kids of my own, Roy's kids are about the same age, so we see each other quite a bit, whether it's in football, baseball, basketball, et cetera. So it's nice to see you getting involved. I mean, even at our Little League board meeting the other day, Roy poked his head in, and it was very nice to see somebody invested. And kudos to you for that, and kudos to you all for being involved, just as Councilmember Norm mentioned. The biggest problem we have in society is apathy, and so seeing people getting involved is something I really enjoy. But I appreciate your interest, Roy, and thank you.
Councilmember Hill?
What do you feel that you can bring to the table that perhaps someone else can't?
Well, I've been in public.
Besides 7 children.
Well, I've been involved in public service for, almost 34 years. I have a good idea of the budget process, been involved in many of those, employee relations, things like that. And, making sure that policies are reviewed and followed, and that financial situations are adhered to. I mean, there's tough times going on. And I just have a good background in that. I've been involved in that for about 30 of my 34 years in the fire service.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Highmiller, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Next up, Mr. Black, would you like to come forward and address the council, please, sir? State your name and address for the record, sir.
Sure. My name is Don Black. I live at 414 Hilliard Street in Taft. I'd like to thank Mayor Pro Tem Dave Norm and the rest of the council for this opportunity to make this presentation. I am a Taft native, born and raised here, went away to school, graduated from Long Beach State, but moved back here in about 82, I believe it was, and I have fond memories of the skate escape and the old wreck up on Main Street, participating in some of the activities up there when I was a kid. Why would I like to be a director on the board? One, I think the board and Don and his staff do an excellent job in providing the services they do to our community, to the youth, the young adults, and the seniors. They just do a great job. One just has to look at what they've done up at A Street Park, down at the Little League fields. They just do a great job, and I think it would be great to be a part of that. Why do I think I would be a good fit there? I've spent 30 years working for a special district, 17 years as a manager of a special district. So I'm very familiar with the process of a special district, how it's funded, their budget process. In particular, I'm familiar in working with the board for 17 years, the difference between the role that a board member plays and what the district manager does. And specifically, it's really one thing you have to be very careful of as a board member is you're not to be involved in the day-to-day operations of the district. That's the manager's job. And your job is to help give him the tools to do that job and, again, oversee the district budget and the bills and payrolls, that kinds of thing. Make sure to be a part of the check and balance of that system. Be involved with legal counsel, help the director under his what do I want to say, his recommendations, approve the budget, and those sorts of matters. So I feel I have a very good background and understanding of what role a board member plays in a special district. not only have I been involved in a special district in the local level, I've also been involved with special districts and in the state level as a regional representative to the State Board of Mosquito and Vector Control Association. I've worked with that. I also served on the legislative committee for that association, working with state legislators and our lobbyists. We reviewed proposed legislation for our association and made recommendations whether to approve or oppose, those kinds of things. We even got involved in introducing legislation. So I was active in that, and one of my goals, if you should so see fit to appoint me, would be to get myself involved that way at a state level with the rec district and their association, either through that or through the California Special Districts Association. I volunteered for 2 years as the caretaker up at Camp Condor. As you may or may not know, the rec district is actually the landlord for Camp Condor. The camp association runs the camp. So I was the caretaker up there for 2 years. I'm familiar with the water problems that they have up there and some of the other issues, and I think I really appreciate what the rec district has done to help alleviate some of the water problems up there. So I bring some of that experience to the table also. My wife and I have worked with youth for 25 or more years. Really enjoy that. My grandkids participate in many of the rec programs. I participate in their craft fairs. So I have some experience and participate in some of their programs. To sum it up, I believe my special district experience, also my experience in volunteering around the community, could be an asset. And I just think the rec does a great job, and I really would like to be a part of that team. Do any of the council members have any questions for me, specific questions?
I'm going to let Councilmember Hill open this one up.
Well, I've known Don Black forever and a day. I actually catered the food at his wedding, and his son was actually the ring bearer at mine. So we've known each other a long, long time. I know that his devotion to the youth at church and the youth in this town has been a long time, and he is very devoted. He asked me for his support, and I cannot lend enough support to him. I think that he would be a fabulous choice for the city and for the rec department.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Bryant.
Well, just as I mentioned with Mr. Highmiller, I've known Don and Sherry indirectly for a few years now. His children are my age, and his children's children are my children's age, so we see a lot of each other, whether it's at sporting events and such like that. I commend you, Don, for stepping up for this. You've got an interesting background when it comes to this thing, and again, I look forward to working with whoever it is, whether it's you or anyone else, but thank you for stepping up.
Sure.
All right, Councilman Cryer.
One of the advantages, I don't know either of them very well, other than this for acquaintance. I know Highmiller is out in the Fellows area. They do my inspection of my restaurant out there, and so far are doing real good. You know, I hope the food's good. But and Don Black, guys are very, very well qualified. I can't really see either one of you, can be on the board, to be honest with you. You guys are really, really qualified. You all have a lot of years' experience, and you all have a commitment to the community and children here, and you get, this is one of those things. You got great people in this town here applying for different positions, and there are openings here that,
Well, I think a lot says how good the district is run, that so many people are interested in this position. I think that's a reflection of what a great job they do and how many people are interested in it.
We've got 3 more candidates here, and they're all very good. I've read, seen so far, read over the material. But I really think you stand out real well, and Don, and I think so far, you guys are top notch. Hard to pick.
Yeah, I'm not envious of your position.
Yeah. The main thing is that we select you is that, you represent this, you represent the city here, and we work real close with the Park District. We share with our Public Works Department, we share assets and stuff, and our youth here, we work real close, because our government is, we serve the people, and the youth is our future, and we want to make sure that they have the, good quality sports and activities that goes on with the rec, and like I say, they're doing a really good job. I want to continue that relationship and let them continue. But you'll be the watchdog, like I say, the budget and everything. The money's well spent, and the money getting, get the best bang for the buck. We grow in that area there. So that's the only comment I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I've known Don and Sherry for some time, and I will tell you that we see each other out on the town, and we've been to dinners and social gatherings, and it seems like, for whatever reason, perhaps I've been involved in city politics for a while, we always end up talking about what's going on in this city, and Don and Sherry are truly interested in the welfare of this city from every different aspect. The quality of life is very important to both of them, and I know that to be a fact, and this is just one place that Don feels that he can be a part of it and contribute and actually try to enhance the quality of life, and a very successful special district thus far. So I thank you very much, Don, for coming before the council as well, and another great candidate. So we appreciate your time and your interest.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, finally, we have young Mr. Miller who wants to come address the council. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
I am Jordan Miller, and my address is 405 Garrett Street. Thank you, council members, for allowing me to come up and speak to you. I've been here since 1985, when my family moved out to Taft. My father has great ties in the community here, and he decided to bring our family back here, and I've been here since then. I've lived here, I've gone to school here, all through elementary school, middle school, and the high school. I participated on all sports with soccer and diving and did all that. And currently I'm part owner, businessman at Roger Miller Insurance with Dad, running the family business and doing that. And I'm currently sitting on the Taft Chamber of Commerce right now, and sitting as the second vice president, which is a great honor to me. I'm really just eager and ready to take on a more active role in this community, and I want to be more involved with the things that are going on, and I think the rec district would be a great opportunity for that. This town has a calling for younger people my age to come in and start being more involved with what's going on, and this to me seems like a great opportunity to do that. That's what I got, so thank you.
All right, Mr. Miller. Jordan, thank you very much. I'm going to let Councilmember Hill. Oh, no, I'm not. You already did that. I'm going to let Councilmember Bryant start this one up.
I wouldn't mind deferring to my left, but again, thank you, Jordan, for your interest. I appreciate it. Obviously, being on the younger end of the spectrum, it's nice to see some other younger blood getting involved. No disrespect to anybody who may be a little bit older than us. It's nice to see people my age not sitting on their hands and want everybody to do something else for them. So thank you for your interest, and I look forward to working with you if you're our candidate. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I've known Jordan for a few years. I know his dad a little longer, and I was trying to encourage his father years in the past to, to be on the district, and but apparently it didn't work through. But I enjoy his father very much, Richard, and he'd be a good candidate. And but anyway, Jordan is, he's involved with the community, the Chamber of Commerce, taking a big role, being the second vice president, and he's very engaged and active what he does. I know probably Jordan better than the other two gentlemen, but I really do support that, his leadership trying to bring the Taft a different perspective, and his role in the Taft, and I congratulate you for doing that. And I just want to let you know that I enjoy you and your father very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Hill.
Well, as I asked before, what do you think that you can bring to the table that the other candidates perhaps can't?
A younger perspective. Really, I mean, this town is really just crying for that right now, and just it's needed in this town for younger people my age and my generation to come in and get involved, and that's what we need. And that's why I feel I'd be great for it, because this is a great opportunity to express that.
Thank you.
All right, youthful exuberance, energy, that's a wonderful thing, very good. Jordan, I have no additional questions. I can tell you that I've known your family for quite some time. Obviously, I've served with Mayor Miller on the council, and he's an honorable man. I got my butt kicked on the golf course by your father, not just yesterday. And he's an honorable man, he's a great putter. I hate admitting it, but it's the truth. And I've known your other uncle. So another family well-rooted in the city of Taft, for heaven's sakes, and I do appreciate you coming forward and wanting to be a part of this. Thank you very much for addressing the council.
Thank you.
Well, then, just to remind everybody out there that Robert Jordan and Marlene Mudge, the two individuals that were interested, are not able to be here, both natives of the city of Taft. So we have a lot of interest from people who were born here, who went to school here, who were raised here, and look to raise their young someday here as well. It's a difficult decision for this council, but it is truly exciting to see that many qualified individuals wanting to be a part of it. This is no easy thing. I think it was Don that touched the most, as well as Roy, on budget issues. Budget issues will make or break any special district, and they are subject to things that are completely outside of their control. These budget issues, such as the falling price of oil in Kern County, are going to have a huge effect on the capabilities of special districts. And it takes somebody who truly understands finance to help steward those things. It takes a lot of people looking at the bucks. It truly does. So very important aspect when it comes to this. That being said, now I believe would be the proper time to open the floor for nominations. So, I believe you've already said it, but Councilmember Hill, I'm going to go ahead and start with your end of the dial.
Don Black.
Don Black, all right. Councilmember Bryant.
I would defer to Mr. Heimiller.
Mr. Heimiller. Councilmember Cryer.
Well, it's a tough one, we got good people out there, and I hope that the ones that don't get picked, or chosen, don't take offense to the decision that we make. They're all very well qualified. I just can't tell you enough how well qualified you are. So, that being said, I would throw my vote for Roy Heimiller.
All right. Well, I can tell you this, I would emulate exactly what you said. I mean, there are no losers here. The district, the community is a winner because so many qualified people are interested in being a part of it. And also, even though this is one vacancy and there are 5 people interested in being a part of it, there will be other vacancies in the future. And whether it's this board or another board, qualified and quality people who truly have the best interest of our community in their heart are going to be necessary for perpetuity. So thanks again for all your interest. I did tell Roy Heimiller when he came to me early on that I would be glad to recommend him. There are other very well qualified individuals that I would also recommend and back, but at this point in time, since I gave Roy my word to begin with, I too will vote for Roy. So we have 2 nominations. We have Don Black as a nomination, and then Roy Heimiller, but I believe the council has voted in effect. All right.
Yeah, you just need a motion.
Make the motion to nominate, approve Roy Heimiller for the West Side Park Recreation District.
All right, we have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And we have roll call, please.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Noor?
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
By unanimous vote of the city council, Mr. Highmiller, you have an opportunity to represent the people of City of Taft on the Parks and Rec District Board of Directors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank everybody for your interest. Would somebody please let the mayor know that it's time for him to come back into the room? Mr. Mayor?
So I have to wait for the video, or can I be told tonight?
Well, sir, there were great discussions, and the council voted. There were 2 nominations for the position. That was Mr. Don Black and Roy Highmiller, and the council voted unanimously to place Roy Highmiller on the board.
Okay. Congratulations, Roy. Look forward to good things from you. All right, thank you. Let's move on then to, I think we're back to item...
Should be number 3, right?
Item number 3, public hearing, zoning ordinance amendment 2014, I think that's 15. Solar energy system design expedited permit processing and fees. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. On September 21st, 2014, Governor Brown signed Assembly Bill Number 2188, AB 2188, regarding solar energy permits. Existing law provides that it is policy of the state of California to promote and encourage the use of solar energy systems and to limit obstacles to their use. AB 2188 amends and adds to Section 714 of the Civil Code and Section 75850.5 of the Government Code, requiring all cities and counties to adopt an expedited and streamlined permitting process for small residential rooftop solar systems on or before September 30th, 2015. The adopted process needs to include simplified submittal checklists, shall allow for electronic submittal of permit applications, and limit restrictions that increase cost or reduce system efficiency. At the December 3rd, 2014 Planning Commission meeting, city staff presented the final draft of an amendment to the Section 6.11.330 Title 6, the Taft zoning ordinance regarding solar energy system design. The commission approved the amendment unanimously and with no further additions or deletions. Staff has since forwarded the amendment for a compliance review to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research for a 30-day review from December 29, 2014 to January 28, 2015, and has received no comment or suggested revisions.
All right. Recommended action is when we conduct a public hearing, so I'll open a public hearing in regard to this matter. Does anybody wish to come forward to speak on behalf of or against this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to item number 2, motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft amending Chapter 11 of Title 6 of the City of Taft zoning ordinance relating to solar energy system design, expedited permit processing, and fees for the first reading by title only and reading of such to be waived.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Bryant? you have
No,
a
sir.
comment? Ms. Hill?
No comment.
Mr. North?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do believe the governor has a goal, isn't it? 1 million solar roofs in the state of California. I think he has several goals, one of which I think is complete insanity, but perhaps someday that drug test will come through. I think this is a good thing. That's all I have.
No comment.
Well, I've installed solar on my home, and one of the advantages of it is to get the tax credit, and hopefully that tax credit will continue and encourage other people to continue to install solar. So far, it's worked out great for me. Madam Clerk?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem North?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, yeah.
Did you mean to close your public hearing before I?
Didn't I close it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Close the public hearing. We had the motion, we have a second,
No.
and now we need to roll call.
Now ready to go.
Mayor Pro Tem Noor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Councilmember Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Move on to item number 4, proclamation February Safe Surrender Month. Is there a staff report with that? Okay, I've asked Mr. Cryer to read that. Oh, looks like we got some reps here. Okay. We're going to read the proclamation first, okay? Thank you.
The City of Taft, State of California, proclamation declaring February 2015 Safe Surrender Awareness Month in Kern County. Whereas the Safety Surrender Baby Law was first implemented in California on January 1st, 2001, with the intent to prevent harm, possible death to newborns. And whereas under this law, parents can safely surrender their baby within 72 hours of birth, with no questions asked and without fear of prosecution, of abandonment, and whereas since 2006, 45 babies have been safely surrendered in Kern County. And whereas in the effort to increase awareness of this law, February has been designated as a Safe Surrender Awareness Month of Kern County. And therefore, the City Council of the City of Taft does hereby join other cities in proclaiming the month of February 2015 as Safe Surrender Awareness Month in Kern County, dated the 17th day of February 2015, signed by Mayor Randy Miller and the council members.
You are here to accept our resolution?
I am.
Okay.
Good evening.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good evening, and thank you, Honorable Mayor and the members of the City Council for this proclamation and your continued support. My name is Doris Sons, and I am the Assistant Program Director for the Department of Human Services here in Taft. I am pleased to share with you and the community the life-saving work of the Safely Surrender Baby Coalition. The Department of Human Services is not alone as we lead the ongoing effort of educating our community about the Safely Surrender Baby Law. Partners with me tonight include the Kern County Fire Department, represented by Battalion Chief John Savarese.
Thank you. Today I have Engineer Raul Magoza and Firefighter Matt Henry with me. And if I may, I'd just take a brief few minutes to convey a story to you that I think really shines light on the importance of this program. As a brand new firefighter back in 1986, my engine company that I was assigned to was called to a medical aid involving a newborn. A gentleman of an apartment complex, he was a manager, and by fate that day decided to go out and clean the alleyway. It wasn't his normal day to clean the alleyway, but for some reason he decided that he was going to do it. As he was doing his job, he began to hear a strange sound coming from an area of a dumpster. You're familiar with those large dumpsters, metal with the two lids on them. And he further investigated and realized that the sound was coming from inside the dumpster. He opened the dumpster and discovered a newborn baby. The baby was wrapped in a blanket and then in a garbage bag. So he called 911, and that's where I came in. We got there first before the ambulance. Being the new firefighter, I jumped right in, received the baby from the gentleman, began to check him out. He was fine. He was perfect. Obviously, a newborn, still had the umbilical cord attached and so on. The ambulance got there, and the paramedic, as would be expected, checked him out. But I ended up holding the infant in the back of the ambulance all the way to the hospital, at which time I handed it off to the emergency room doctor. And regretfully, I didn't ever follow up on the child himself. However, the story did hit the paper, and about a day or so later, we had about 20 people that came forward wanting to adopt the child. It's one of those things now, advanced from 1986 now, all these years in my career, but it's always stuck with me.
And I think that things may have been different if we would have had the Safe Surrender program back then. So on behalf of the Kern County Fire Department, I'm proud to represent our organization and be a partner with you folks in this great program. So thank you. And did you want to read that next?
Yeah.
Or do you want them to demonstrate? Okay. We brought one of the Safe Surrender kits for you if you've never seen it. Engineer Malgoza will show you what's in it and give you a little idea of what it has.
Council members, we have here a small kit that has some items necessary for the child, some diapers, a blanket, and a bottle of water for the child. We also have a packet here that we give to the parent or parents, and it does have a questionnaire. It is not mandatory that the parents fill out the information, but we do ask that it get filled out because it does assist in the child's care. The most important thing in this kit is a pair of matching bracelets. And these bracelets in here, one goes with the child and one is given to the parent in the event that at a later time the parent does want to reclaim the child. It assists in that. So, thank you very much. And here's the course.
And they have 14 days to do that in order to claim the baby. Since 2006, our department began tracking safely surrendered babies. 45 newborns have been safely surrendered in Kern County. Last year alone, 7 babies were saved through this program in our communities. Safely surrendered baby law allows for women in crisis the option of walking into a fire station or a hospital emergency room to surrender their baby into the safe arms of a fireman, nurse, or other hospital personnel. They can do so without providing their name or any personal information, with no fear of being prosecuted for child abandonment. That is a simple mission of the Safely Surrendered Baby Coalition, to get the message out, to prevent the tragic abandonment of a newborn. In your packets, you have a list of information and flyers that the department has been outreaching to other city councils, as far as including Bakersfield, Ridgecrest, Tehachapi, Arvin, and Shafter. One final important thing to share is that when a child is safely surrendered in Kern County, that little baby goes straight into the waiting arms of a family already approved for adoption. Even though it is a difficult decision, the end result is that families are completed and newborns are saved. Thank you again for this proclamation and allowing us your time.
Well, thank you. We would like to, if possible, to have Doug, you want it up here? Or?
If you guys want to do it up there, we can do it.
Okay. Would you like to come up and get a picture with our proclamation with the council?
I have to do this up there.
Come on up here. We're very proud of our city seal, so we'd like to get the caps.
Go ahead, guys.
Come on.
Okay, John.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Squeeze it. Angle? Yeah, we can angle.
Okay, gentlemen, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. After everybody up at the mayor and the important.
There you go.
Thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, appreciate it.
Right behind you, Orson. Okay.
Well, gratefully, we're not hearing of more child abandonments not being successful, so this is a very important program. We're glad that DHS, which I'm a former employee of Department of Human Services, and the great work they do, and our firefighters and we thank you all for your service. Thanks for coming tonight. All right, moving on to item number 6. Citizens' request for public comments. This is a time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. All right. First up is Gloria Nichols in regards to street lighting. If you'll state your name and your address,
Hi, my
please.
name's Gloria Nichols. I live at 215 Eastwood Road.
All right.
I'm sure you all know about the accident that happened, the pedestrian accident that happened on Kern and 2nd on Saturday night about 6 o'clock. We had just pulled into Pake's Restaurant, and we heard the tires squeal. We thought like 2 cars had hit, but a girl had been hit. So we went over there, we all ran over there, my husband, my sister, and I, just to start helping out, and praise God that it didn't turn out like the last pedestrian that was hit there. And we all know that Kern Street is one of the darkest streets at night, from 1st Street to 8th Street, and half of the lights, like 7th, 8th Street, half of those don't work half of the time. They're not even on. I was lucky enough to get Mark Savaggio's number and called him on Saturday to talk to him. Let me rephrase that, to listen to him. He said he would get right back to me and he would get on it, which he did. He called me back again today for me to listen to him. Let's see, I talked a lot, I talked a lot, but I think he has me beat. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I talked to the city manager today, answered all my questions, wonderful. I didn't know Kern Street belongs to Caltrans, the lights belong to PG&E, even you guys pay to have them maintained. My question was, have you ever checked into the different kind of lighting, the LED lighting, price the LED lighting next to the lighting you have now, which is more powerful, lighter? And if you haven't, is there anything you could do about looking into that?
I can speak for staff. I don't think that we have had to do that. There are PG&E light standards, and PG&E maintains them, and we just pay for the electricity going to them. They place them where Caltrans wants them to be. You'll notice that there are no street lights in between the intersections.
Right.
Now, it's only the 2 lights at each intersection. So we have a traffic committee, a council committee, a traffic committee, and I'm sure this will be on their agenda, and they can look into it. Caltrans, CHP, city, state, county, everybody shows up for that meeting.
Because, that would give a lot more light and.
Yeah, well, one of the things, if you've probably been told, we have found out it was even darker than what you think it's dark now. The lights were like 120 watt.
Well, yeah, they changed them to 400.
And that's a maximum that they can deal with, or they get too hot, and then they either burn out or they go out and then come back on.
But the LED would make a lot more.
Well,
that was a horrible sight to see, and that's the second one at that intersection, and one is too many, for it to happen again.
They are more expensive, so that's one of the costs that we have to look at.
Okay, well, thank you. That's just what I wanted to talk about.
Fortunately, we're not like Bakersfield. They seem to have 2 to 3 pedestrian accidents all over that city.
Time.
So
right.
Fortunately, we don't have that here. We've had that tragic accident a couple of years back.
But even during the day, it's bad.
Right.
People speed. The other day, I waited 5 minutes. I was going west. Traffic was coming east. I waited 5 minutes for the eastbound to stop for a girl to come across the street.
We're very concerned too about
that was the same
the
intersection.
kids crossing that when school lets out.
Well, sure.
And they just dart out. They don't look up. They just dart out. So It's something we'll bring up in the traffic committee, and if you'll inquire, we'll see what we can come up with and see what the costs are, and if it's, reasonable.
Well, you know,
we'll see what we can
what's
do.
the life worth is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. Looks like Michael Long. Couldn't read your writing here, Mike. What are you here to talk about? Okay. You state your name and your address, please?
Michael Long, 508 Center Street. I'm here representing the Taft Downtown Business Association. As you probably heard, there's been a lot of crime occurring downtown. A lot of building owners are quite upset, and I know that we've talked with the city manager and we've got a lot of good feedback. I wanted to talk about the Public Safety Committee that was formed, or at least reconstituted about 2 years ago, and met once and hasn't met since. And one of the reasons I recall that they were going to meet is to look at asset forfeiture monies and look at some crime prevention programs. So I'm encouraging the council to kickstart that committee again to look at some ideas, perhaps cameras in the alleys, some lighting, all focused on crime prevention. A lot of the building owners implement their own crime prevention programs with alarms, barbed wire. I know I have steel doors that I paid thousands of dollars for, and I have not been a victim, fortunately, but I know that a lot of people have over the past couple of years, and seems like it's a good time to bring the issue to the council and see if there's some way we can address it. And I think that the Public Safety Committee might be the right way to do it. I know that there's some funding there from asset forfeiture, so I'm just recommending that council consider that. I know the police department's doing a great job. The chief came to our last meeting and gave us almost an hour of his time, I believe, and answered a lot of our questions. We can't do a neighborhood watch because nobody lives downtown really to stay up and kind of watch. One of the policies that we're concerned with and what we're hearing about is somebody will call the police department and say, well, I see somebody over at this business or doing something. Well, sir, is it your business? Well, no, it's not. Well, then we can't respond. Now, I've heard that from 2 merchants, and I think that that's probably not a good policy, because how does neighborhood watch work? If I see somebody breaking into my neighbor's home and I call the police, they're going to respond, presumably. So I just want to raise that issue. And again, the police department's been very good. They came down my alley the other day, and there was a truck parked there, and they got out and they checked it out. That's really reassuring. But I think crime prevention, perhaps some cameras, things, not hiring staff to look at film, but if something happens where you can go back and look at a camera and see that this guy that you know is doing it, because we know that there's probably 20 people in town that does this all the time. And I know that the new state laws make it difficult to arrest people and incarcerate them. If they don't steal something worth more than $950, they get a ticket and they're released. And that's very, very disheartening. So the next time somebody steals something from me, I'm going to make sure it's reported as more than $1,000. On a second issue, we had a zoning issue downtown, and the city manager was right on it. There was some usage going on. It was a catering business with liquor and no license, no occupancy permit. And I'm hoping that we can come up with a policy where when building transactions occur, or somehow a person can't just, a lot of people are buying buildings and just moving in and doing what they think they can do. And there needs to be a process, and I don't know what that process is, where a property owner is noticed. Here's the rules and regulations. It's zoned for this, and it's all it can be used for. We have a couple of incompatible uses going on down there. It's very bothersome. Some people won't let their wives go down there on cruise night because of the nature of some of the visitors that come from out of town. And there's one questionable business down there. We haven't pushed it, but I'm just saying to anticipate problems in the future when businesses come and they use a building, they ought to know or have an idea how they can use it, as opposed to just doing what they want. Because the goal of the downtown group is to have retail businesses, restaurants, doctor's offices, compatible businesses, like a mall, where people will feel safe to come downtown and shop. And so that's what we're concerned about. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so noted, Mike, and we'll look into, if we haven't had a public safety committee meeting, maybe something, because times are changing, and Center Street's not like it was back when, and there's, with Prop 47, there's just a lot more activity going on, so we'll look into those concerns.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just, I heard a news report today, as a matter of fact, I was listening to a radio station that was a Fresno channel, and I believe in a news report, they said that vehicle thefts under $950 were up 100% plus this month over last month, all attributable to Prop 47. I believe the chief has spoken at length about Prop 47. The reality of things is this: just as surely as it is incumbent upon each of us, if we choose to cross Kern Street, whether we do it in the daylight or at night, you're taking your life in your own hands, okay? Even if you have the right-of-way in a crosswalk, you're gonna lose the battle with a car or a truck. You're gonna lose. Pay attention. Pay attention. Don't spend time on a crosswalk or on the highway that you don't need to. After the tragic accident that occurred downtown, I was traveling through the city of Taft, much like so many of us do, day in and day out, and almost had an accident because of a young man who stepped off the curb, not in a crosswalk, had things in his ears, had the earphone thing going on, and was looking at whatever he was listening to, completely oblivious to what was going on. Just thought for sure he was superhuman because I'm a pedestrian. I'm in the crosswalk. I have the right of way. Well, this guy wasn't even in the crosswalk. So just as surely as it is all of our responsibilities to look as we move through Kern Street, it's also an individual's responsibility when they choose to cross the highway. And that's very important. On the issue of thefts and property crime, they're going to rise. They're going up. Because those that will victimize you know they're going to be right back out on the street. They know it. And the police do everything they can, but those will rise. And it's kind of like good fences make good neighbors. Make yourself the most difficult target for those who would take advantage of you and steal from you. Keep your vehicles locked up. Don't leave things on the front seat that are of any value, whether they're an iPhone or your purse if you're just running in or any other thing like that. Don't start your vehicle in the wintertime and let it run while you're inside grabbing that cup of coffee. All these things. So help yourself, help the police this community, but just know we didn't pass Prop 47. We didn't pass AB 109, and they will be back out there.
Council comments.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
You're blowing through your...
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. We're moving on to Kathy Oren with the Chamber of Commerce. Dr. Oren.
Well, happy Fat Tuesday.
Happy Fat Tuesday.
Feeling it.
Just want to remind you that at the Episcopal Church right now, they're enjoying a pancake repast, and they said they'll be making pancakes as long as the public's coming, but they are celebrating Fat Tuesday down there. So just to let you know, it's a gentle reminder from Heather Mueller. I wanted to say that the installation of the 2015 officers and the community awards went very well at the Fox Theater last week. We had over 150 guests, which in my tenure is the most guests we've had. And of course, the Fox is a great venue. I want to thank the folks there for providing that for us. I also want to thank the council. All the council members were there. I think that's wonderful. I so appreciate that. And Council Member Knorr, you were in the front row. I appreciate that.
Right up
and
front.
Apparently you got my jokes, and I appreciate that too. I also want to thank City Manager Craig and City Clerk Yvette. You were there, and we really appreciate that. I want to remind folks about the sit and sips that are coming up. Tomorrow, Synagro will be presenting our sit and sip, and Lori Loader will be there, and we're pleased to see her back. And of the 25th, the Cemetery District will be presenting the program. I don't think in my 5 years I've ever had the Cemetery District do a presentation at Sit and Sip, but they have something kind of exciting to talk about with regards to Oil Dorado. On March 4th, Sit and Sip will move to Pakes because the City of Taft Transit Meeting is going to be our program, and we're going to be, I think we're going to be fed. Is that true? So that will be jam-packed. Get there early to get a seat. But this will be a good program. I've sat in a couple focus groups with transit folks, and although I operate around town all day, I learned a lot about transit in Taft, so I encourage folks to take advantage of that chance. Now, I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to take off my chamber hat and put on my citizen hat. Last month, the property that my husband and I own on Center Street was vandalized and stolen from. To date, we've probably had that happen 3 times. We're not sure the extent of what's missing because they vandalized it so horribly that it's hard to tell at this point what's missing. The property was protected, or so we thought. We installed a $3,500 fence. We padlocked it all over the place. And it, thanks to the city, is very well lit because the city lights are right there. That was nice. It didn't seem to slow anybody down. They took the tires and rims off one of the cars that are parked behind there, and the second time they came back and just took out all the windows. The next day, our dog was stolen. This was another preventative measure we had placed. And so we're feeling a little victimized here, and we're not alone. Now, I am not here to bag on the police department. I think we have a wonderful police department, but I am very unhappy with Prop 47, and I have to say I'm a little unhappy with those people that do the commercials that we all hear before the election that tell you how to vote. I don't recall anybody telling me if you vote yes on this proposition, you're going to be vandalized. They did tell me that the costs in the state were going to go down, but I never connected the dots. Now, don't get me wrong, I never voted for this, but I am irritated that now this Prop 47 has converted all nonviolent offenses, which are property and drugs, which I would submit to you, to me, are not nonviolent, but that's not my point. Now they're not felonies, they're misdemeanors, and most of you already know that. I looked up the history of this Prop 47, and I found out that it was supposed to save money, and I'm a little irritated that Newt Gingrich was behind it 100%. I'm now off Newt Gingrich, by the way. And also Jay-Z was in favor of it, for those of you that think Jay-Z is a mental giant. According to Wikipedia, the effects of the passage of this proposition are going to be uncertain. Well, they're not uncertain. We are 2 months into it, and we know exactly what's happening. So I have some suggestions. Now, first of all, I want to thank the police. I know they're frustrated as well. The chief has met with downtown businessmen. He's been willing to talk to any group of people, any individuals that are frustrated and want to talk to him, and I appreciate it. But his appeal is for prevention. We have to concentrate on prevention, and I agree with that. But I thought I was preventing my stuff from being damaged. I locked it up. You know, at my property on Center Street, they couldn't get through the windows or the doors. They took the siding off the building, which tells me that they had a little bit of time. So the other thing that frustrates me as a neighbor was the one who told me that I had been broken into. I said, did you call the police? And he said, I didn't call them because they won't take down the information because it's not my property. I don't really know if that's the policy, but in his estimation, that was the policy. So here I am, I'm a citizen, and I'd just like to encourage some behaviors. Now, I'm going to do a disclaimer here because these are not suggestions by the chief of police. In fact, the chief of police is probably back there behind me rolling his eyes right now because I'm a citizen. I am, to my credit, an ex-junior high school principal, so I know a little bit about vandalism and that kind of stuff. But here are some suggestions, and they're just suggestions of a property owner. A grandmother, a principal. If you are going from point A to point B and there is a sidewalk, take the sidewalk. Don't take the alley. It is my idea, no one else's perhaps, that if you're in the alley, you're up to no good because alleys are stinky, dark places. You should be walking on a sidewalk. There are 2 sidewalks for every alley. So don't take the alley. Second one, if you see someone doing something that doesn't look right, tell them to stop. Now, in this regard, I'm talking about if they're going through your trash can. If they are going through the trash can, I'll talk faster, Randy. If they're going through the trash can on Center Street and putting garbage everywhere, tell them to stop. Going through the trash can is illegal. Tell them you don't appreciate it. Tell them to stop. In any case, if you see something amiss, call the police. So many times people say, I didn't call the police because it doesn't do any good. You still need to call the police regardless of your feelings. They can't do anything about stuff they don't know about. We have a good police department. They want to catch the bad guys as much or more than we do, but we have to do our part. I want to thank you for listening, even though I was over time. I appreciate that.
All very good points and well taken, and thank you so much, Kathy. Up next, Lodima Hatch, Community Garden. You and Ray have 2 different things?
Lodima Hatch, 209 East Warren Street. Yes.
Okay.
He's going to steal my thunder, so I'll switch subjects. I wanted to let the council know how pleased I have been this last month. Your city manager, Mr. Craig Johnson, Mr. Savaggio with Dave Couch's office, somebody at PG&E, and somebody on the roads department have managed to accomplish visibility and safety at the intersection of Ash and 10th Street. I tried about 5 or 6 years ago to get this intersection. If you're coming east or west on Ash, and oncoming traffic from the north, you've got the turning lane, the straight-through lane, the lane you're going to pass or turn left or right in the center. You got 3 lanes to cross if you're going to turn. It's impossible when schools are busy, traffic coming from Midway is speeding. It's totally unsafe. There's only been 2 warrants in X number of years, which is not enough, apparently, to address it appropriately. However, this group of people managed to pull it off. You now have PG&E removing the slats from the fencing, so you have clear visibility looking to the right. You have a visible speed sign, 35 miles an hour. You have a new flashing sign that says your speed is, which I love, and you have another sign that says you have a crosswalk. You're entering from the fort to the child care center. All requires slowing down. It's been accomplished. It's 99% safer than it was, and an excellent working communication, all done by email. And I thought you should know. Excellent, excellent teamwork.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Ray Hatch, Community Garden. Former Mayor Hatch, I might add.
Once a mayor, always a mayor.
Yeah.
Ray Hatch, 209 East Warren Street, Taft, California. I wanted to mention a couple of things this evening. First, you had quite a group of candidates here. You need to look and find a job for the ones that didn't, the others that did not get picked. You've got, everyone is an excellent choice. They'll fill some need that we need in the community. Not necessarily just the city, but we have other special districts here, other activities we need. be proactive, find a job for them. They're looking, they're asking to volunteer. How do you turn down a volunteer? Wow. Number two, Lodima mentioned what Supervisor Couch had helped accomplish on Ash and 10th Street. I am among many that just recognize what a wonderful job he's doing as our supervisor. And this is just one example. He gave an excellent talk at the chamber installation dinner. And again, we're all very, very lucky, again, of another public servant we have. The reason I really got up this evening, though, was to talk about agenda item. It's on your consent agenda. It is agenda item number 15, I think it is. 15. Synagro. We all know Synagro. They're an excellent company. They are important to our community and important to the county. They're good corporate citizens. They help out many activities that we have here in our community and in Kern County. The community garden would not be what it is today if we didn't have the support of Synagro. But, you know, that's a reason to support the expansion plans that they're asking you to support. But the other is, think about why we need that compost plant out there and what they accomplish for us as a civilization. And you know, that's another reason to really support their request for a letter of support. And I just appreciate that this is on the consent agenda and you're going to approve that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. That's all, folks, we've had for public comments. We'll move on to item number 7, council statements, non-action. Michelle.
Actually, I have two things to talk about. The first is the traffic situation. I looked at that intersection today. I kind of watched it for a while. Lighting is an issue. I am currently the rep for the city council rep for the traffic committee, and I was also the planning commission rep, and I was at the meeting last year when we discussed that particular intersection. Caltrans did not particularly think we needed to have any special lighting at that intersection. I'm not sure lighting's the issue. I think stop sign might be the issue. I mean, frankly, we've got kids coming from school up and down that. For some reason, this generation does not believe in looking both ways. I mean, that's something that has totally not been taught to children. I don't know why. But nowadays, they just jump into the aisle and think that everybody's supposed to stop for them. Frankly, I would love to stop for them if I saw them. This particular child was wearing black, which is almost impossible at night to see. But lighting is very expensive, but a stop sign really isn't. I think that might be something we ought to consider, if it's possible to consider. I realize that Caltrans is probably the one that makes that decision, but it's definitely a lot less expensive to put a stop sign than it is to put a lot of lighting, and perhaps it would be more effective. The other thing that I'd like to mention is, in regards to Dr. Oren, my store, Old School, Friendly Antique, Acme Jewelry, there's a couple other antique stores. At least once a month, we get questionable people coming into our stores to sell items that were most obviously stolen. When a young man, probably 25 to 30 years old, who looks like he hasn't bathed in 6 months, comes in with his grandmother's watch, I doubt very much it's his grandmother's watch. It's probably something that was stolen in Dr. Oren's building. But if we have a list, if there's some way that we could have a list, I realize that when people have things stolen, once they realize what's stolen, they give this to police, and I realize that the police have more than enough to do. But perhaps some of these types of businesses like mine, we get these people in here. We can kind of look at you and go, well, that's pretty questionable. Perhaps there's something we can do to help in that. I don't know. I realize it's a lot of work, but I assure you, we get questionable people in all these stores, and we'd all like to help some way. Taft Treasures is being looked at by everybody on Facebook. Maybe these items need to be stated that things were stolen. These are some of the stolen items. Don't buy them. I mean, people are buying things on Taft Treasures or in a yard sale. They don't necessarily know where they come from. If I walk into a yard sale and Josh is over here has got a yard sale, I'm pretty sure you didn't steal it, but you know.
Never know.
You never know. And you know, sometimes you don't know where these people get these things from. So perhaps if we're reading where the next yard sale is and we have a list of what perhaps was stolen, it might help us to keep our eyes open. That's all I have. Thank you.
Right.
Well, to still a little bit, a line or a quote, or maybe even a man, or something that people and council members, Nor's industry tend to use. I believe "look up and live" is the term, correct?
Correct.
That's in regard to lifting up a hydro crane and accidentally hitting some sort of electrical power lines. In this case, it's look up and watch where you're going. Just being aware of your surroundings. We often get tunnel vision, and I'm a victim of it myself at times. Probably sitting at home when my wife's talking to me and I'm busy looking on the iPad or something like that, but it's the same sort of principle. I would just encourage people to teach your kids, teach your grandkids, or teach anybody that comes into your sphere of influence, just to pay attention. Have a little bit of common sense. Don't step out into an intersection when there's a 2-3 ton car or a 5 or 10 ton truck coming down the road, barreling towards you. Just because you're in an intersection doesn't mean you're invincible or in a crosswalk. In regard to the chamber installation dinner, thank you, Kathy, for the invitation, and it was a pleasure joining you. It was amazing to see that many people involved and interested in the ongoings of the city of Taft. I look forward to bigger and better things in the future. To you and Shannon, congratulations, and you guys put on an amazing event. And Mr. Hatch hit the nail on the head when he talked about getting people involved. Part of community is being involved, and people sitting on their hands and being apathetic, expecting people to do things for them, ultimately is the root of a lot of problems we experience as a society. And you enrich your life, the lives of those you are involved with, by being involved, and volunteerism is one of the biggest things. So I encourage people to get out and get involved, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, a lifetime you spend out there helping other people. You get some sort of enrichment from that personally. You obviously affect others who benefit from your time, efforts, money, whatever the case may be. I try to be involved wherever I can, and I just would encourage everyone else to do the same. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of topics tonight. What I want to say is the price of oil going down. A lot of it is, they say, it's like overproduction. I would say yes and no to that. A lot of it has to do with the economy. When people don't buy tires, buy clothes, everyday things that we use in our life. If people are not consuming, that means that oil is not being used to make those products out there. And that's what brings the price of oil down. When anybody tells you we have a great economy, don't believe it. Our economy is not as good as being portrayed, and that's why the price of oil is going way down. Or it's going down, and the price of oil is cheap as it is. And saying that is, our city in the west side is suffering. The restaurant business is down. The True Value, people aren't buying stuff at True Value. McDonald's, tire shops aren't selling enough tires. Everybody's not buying and consuming things because everybody's getting hurt, getting laid off. I'd like to encourage everyone to support our local businesses. If we don't have the product, we don't have the service, ask them, if you would carry this, I would stay here and buy it and not go to Bakersfield or other areas and purchase it. And we need to support our local businesses. And if the oil companies have catering events, support the local restaurants for their catering events and stuff. Not to go outside of Bakersfield, because we're suffering here. I'm suffering. A lot of businesses here are hurting right now. I know this would be a temporary deal. It's going to go up again like everything else. If it goes down, goes up, goes down, opposite way. But we need to support our side of it. And I do appreciate the oil companies, what they do in supporting our Chamber of Commerce and all the other nonprofits and schools and stuff. We appreciate all that. We just need another step to support our local businesses, and if we can, purchase locally on that subject. Another thing too is that the Chamber did a really good job, Shannon and Dr. Orrin, and the Chamber Board. They all put in there, and the volunteers that make it happen. It's a whole group effort that made such a great deal. We got two great leaders there to make it happen, to coordinate it. And I just want to thank you two for that, and everybody involved for doing that to make it all possible. And as far as the comments from the public about, it's the first I heard about the accident. To be honest with you, I didn't know anything about it. And I've been very busy in my own personal stuff going on that happened there. I drive up and down Kern Street and stuff, especially on bad weather, when it's rainy or foggy. It's really, really bad. And I've seen it where people walk out. Sometimes I think they do it purposely right in front of you. Some of it is, maybe as a driver myself, is my fault, because, I'm driving down the street, I don't see on the side. But yes, the pedestrians have the right of way, and we have to stop for them, but sometimes we need to take very care of the driver, but the pedestrian got to look both ways and make sure there is no cars coming. If there is coming, make sure that car is going to stop for them, not just assuming they're going to stop. And wear proper clothing for the time of day. Dark clothing for daytime and light clothing for nighttime. They're going to be up there in the evening. We all have to take responsibility. If we don't, that's what causes accidents. And Taft is really a safe community. We don't have the horror stories that other cities have. And I do have to say that. Another issue is, I'm hearing quite a bit, is the crime in our town. Yes, crime is up, but I still feel Taft is one of the safest cities in the area. The police department doing the best they can, what they have, and a lot of it is reporting. Yeah, we got a lot of these idiots out there. It's going to keep on doing it. They know better. They're going to get caught. Next thing that happens, but get a citation. But we just need to keep on after them. Just keep on hammering after them and hope they get tired of it and getting caught. And they have to go to courts. That sometimes they don't go. They don't get going to jail for a no-show. But we need to be diligent in Washington. I know the businesses are suffering. I'm not the only, I'm being victimized in my area, and we have to take responsibility and working together in our community, watching out for each other in business and stuff. Know who your owners are as far as business people. Know who your neighbors and who your business neighbors are, and have the cameras and stuff where on the inside looking out. So if somebody does break in, they can follow the trail where they leave, who that person is that's breaking in. But it's a hard deal for the police. It's hard for a person to catch them because they come at odd times. You don't know what time, maybe 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you just can't be out there. I know the chief is going to go ahead and put together a citizen patrol to watch out and stuff. There are things going on, but anything else that takes time to do it correctly. Get the best bang, get it done right to do the job. And I commend him for that and the police department, and we have a long ways to go. And we as a council want to hear the comments from Dr. Orn and the citizens here that present issues. And thank you, Mike Long, for on that too. But we have a long way to go, but we need your help. We need your input. Continuously reminding us up here that there is a problem, and let everybody know there's a problem, and hopefully we can stop some of it. The traffic committee, city committee, is open to the public. I believe it's open to the public. Then when we do have them, I encourage you to come and bring up your ideas and your concerns to us, and listen to what we're discussing and stuff, and hopefully we get a better dialogue, a better end results to it, because in government, sometimes things do move slowly, but we get citizens involved. Sometimes the kick in the butt helps a little bit more quicker. But we appreciate that. But I still believe Taft is a great place to live and work and have a great time. There's a lot to do here, and we just need to support it. Otherwise, we're going to lose it. We're going to see a lot more businesses closing down, people getting laid off, and we just need to support our local businesses. And that's all I have to say, Mayor.
Mr. Cryer, Mr. Norton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with what you're saying about supporting the oil companies and local businesses. So if you have a Prius, sell it, buy a used one-ton truck, and be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Okay. Beyond that, one thing I did want to bring up, Mr. Long was talking about, what are we going to do? How are we going to be able to protect ourselves? And just like the Orange were talking about, they were victimized. I will tell you that there's a local businessman that owned a gas station, and he had problems as well. And he put up surveillance cameras. Had 2 surveillance cameras stolen back to back. So he had to basically build armor around the surveillance cameras. I mean, these people will stop at nothing. They will stop at nothing. And nobody wants to be a victim. If I had my way and they passed my law, you wouldn't have problems like that. But they deal with coyotes the way that I would deal with it in North Dakota, and a coyote is a one-shot problem. literally. On another issue, I was at the chamber installation dinner and I had a wonderful time. Got to visit with so many people. The people of the city turned out and everybody chatted it up and had a good time. I mean, the cocktail hour before, it could have gone on for 3 or 4 hours, for heaven's sakes. Everybody's having a ball. I thoroughly enjoyed that. One of the funniest things, I must say, that was said the whole night was said by Manny Campos, as I recall, when he made a joke about how long you can wait at the local DMV. Those of you who have not been to our local DMV since they passed the law concerning licensing illegal aliens are truly missing out an opportunity to read War and Peace or do a lot of other things. Just the other day, this truly happened, my son came in to town and he had to go to the DMV for an issue, and he went to the DMV and he pulled his ticket, got his ticket. Knowing he would be waiting for a while, he's also commercially licensed, and it was time for him to get his physical renewed for his commercial license. So he went and he had his physical renewed. Well, then he noticed that it was time to get the oil changed in his pickup truck. So he went here locally and had his vehicle serviced. After having done those two things, he was quite hungry, so he took a moment to get something to eat at a local restaurant. And then he went by and had his taxes done. And went back to the DMV and still had 12 more numbers to wait before he had an opportunity to get served. That's right, 12 more numbers. And that's all quite funny, and I think it's funny. But I'm going to tell you something that happened business-wise to me that didn't make me laugh, not one iota. We as a company have planned for and saved for a long time to purchase a new piece of equipment to enhance our capabilities for our customers. And it took a long time because it was a chunk. The purchase of this particular piece of equipment generated about $105,000 in sales tax. So it was a substantial purchase for a small company. But we're happy to do it, and so I had one of the gals that works for me, she takes care of our DMV stuff, so she went down to the DMV to pay the registration on this new piece of equipment. And we have dealt with the folks there at the DMV for many, many years. The 23 years I've been here, and know a lot of them from the community, very friendly, very helpful, hardworking folks. Well, my employee went down there to register this crane. This crane was built in Germany, and so there's a few little quirks about it, some more paperwork. Well, they just didn't have the time to spend to get that piece of equipment registered, so they told her, look, there's too many people waiting here. You're going to have to go to Bakersfield. So then my employee, on a clock, I had to pay her to drive all the way to Bakersfield and get an appointment and wait there at DMV to hopefully get my crane registered. Well, I will tell you that fully 60% of the people that were there that day that were being inconvenienced by my employee who wanted to register that crane, and by the way, the cost to register that crane, the little green sticker, $6,800 and change per year, folks. I send the DMV $45,000 plus every year for registrations. So I'm a pretty good customer. I'm not their biggest one, but I'm not their smallest. But I do believe that we have a right to take our turn and do business there. I don't think those people that were being inconvenienced were going to spend $6,800 and change. So my employee went all the way to Bakersfield, burned that fuel, created all that greenhouse gas, went all the way over there, and spent the $6,800 and some odd dollars over there, and then came back. And that's upsetting to me. I do not know why it seems these days that there isn't a week that goes by that some legislator does not come up with an idea to pass some law to provide some additional benefit to people who, by virtue of their very presence in this country, are breaking the law. There is a legal way to come into this country. There is a process, and it's not too arduous because it takes place every day. Now then, to continue to add more and more benefits to the package that exists for breaking the law, circumventing the law, not following the law to come into this country, doesn't seem to me to be a good idea. If as a legislator you want to represent those people, I understand that. That's fine. Everybody needs to be represented. But if you want to represent those folks, pick out what country you want to represent, find out what their immigration laws are, spend the money, spend the time, spend the effort to immigrate to that country, and if you're fortunate enough and they're a democracy, you can get elected there. And then you'll have the opportunity to represent those people in their country. And you should. Truly you should. If, however, you want to continue to serve the public in these United States of America, everybody that comes up to this dais swears to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. And you are elected by citizens because in order to have the right to vote, at least up until now, you've got to be a citizen. So if you've been elected by the citizens of the United States as an elected representative, that's who you're supposed to look out for. That's whose interests you're supposed to represent over and above anybody else's who sneaks through the back door to come into this country. That's my rant for this evening. I believe that to be the facts. Is that not the way it's supposed to be?
Amen. Testify.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I
Thank you once
appreciate
again.
everybody's indulgence.
We love your rants. Traffic coming down, I came down off of Cascade Place by the Recreation Department, turn right to go down to the 10th Street intersection. As I was proceeding down Kern Street, two couples on either side of the street decided to walk across, opposite of each other. 45-mile-an-hour zone, and then they proceeded to take their time doing it. Couldn't go down another half a block and then, take the light and get safely down there. There are some stupid people that cross on Kern Street. There's a lot of stupid drivers out there, and two stupids don't make something right. Prop 47, I was at a League of Cities Valley meeting up in Reedley last week, and the presentation was on Prop 47. And the chief of police of the Fresno Police Department made a presentation, as did the district attorney for Fresno County. Everything the chief has said, plus more. The question I had afterwards, I asked that police chief, said, well, what was the model of Prop 47 based on? Some other area, some other community, some other state. No. We're the first ones. But I don't think anybody's in other states going to be clamoring to follow our lead on what this state has done to ourselves. So we're the first, and we're doing it to ourselves. We're not following the lead of any other communities that had a successful Prop 47 type program. For all the thieves out there, for every thief, there's a buyer. If there wasn't any buyers, it would sure cut down on the thievery, because most of those thieves aren't stealing stuff that they're keeping. Most of them have a habit, and they need to pay for the habit, and the only way they can pay for that habit is steal your stuff, and they sell it to your neighbor. So, as far as I'm concerned, we should be as hard on the buyers of this grandma's watch that you made mention of. Some guy comes in and wants, $20 for a $500 watch. There's something wrong there. And but when you buy that, you're encouraging those thieves to go out and steal from your neighbors and maybe you. So don't buy from these folks. Also, we have a few trucks around town. One selling keys, one selling wood, one selling this, one selling this. Off the back of their trucks, they're parking in Albertson's parking lot. They park up here by the Fast Trip on the dirt lot there on Kern Street. We're trying to run them off, but same thing. They don't have a business license. They're not paying city tax. They're not paying sales taxes. They're ripping you off and the city off. Don't encourage them. Don't buy from them. Okay? Just don't. And last, I've always had a little rant about our motorcycle, especially the off-roader motorcycle folks. And it's coming down now. If you drive down North Lincoln, They're putting up a chain link fence from the county building and the old 11C camp all the way down, clear down to those houses that are down at the end. I don't know who's putting that fence up, but it's a barrier to motorcycle riders. So riding out in the so-called fields, that's private property that you're riding on, and the 10% bad drivers, bad riders that are out there tearing things up and causing problems are ruining it for everybody else. And what's happening is that they're going to start fencing off these areas that folks want to ride in. So, too bad. I'm sure there's other reasons they put that fence up, but I'm sure one of them is to keep the motorcycles off their property. That's all I have for tonight. We move on to department reports. Do we have any department reports tonight? Moving on to item number 9, city manager statements.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to, looking at Orchel shirt there, El Dorado, had a chance to sit in at the last executive board meeting for El Dorado, and I won't divulge any secrets, but it looks like the beginning of a great celebration, and a lot of people don't realize how much time and dedication it takes for those who volunteer to be on those boards, and it just sitting there, it dawned on me how much work actually goes into El Dorado, and this is just the beginning. So I just want to thank everybody involved with El Dorado, and look forward to a good celebration. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. City attorney statements?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, no statement.
All right. Moving on to the consent calendars, item 11 to 15. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for a separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Okay. Item number 11, minutes of February 3rd, regular meeting. Item 12, payment of bills. Item 13, second reading ordinance prohibiting the production, distribution, and sale of synthetic compounds and derivatives, also known as bath salt. Item 14, approval of expense to demolish unsafe structures at 105 North Street and 607 Lucard Street. And item number 15, Synagro letter of support. Would any council members like to remove any item from the consent calendar? What's that? Well, I would like to remove item 13 and 15. Okay, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the consent calendar for items 11, 12, and 14.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem North?
Yes.
Councilmember Pryor?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Miller?
Yes. Item 13 is a second reading of the ordinance prohibiting the production and distribution and sale of acidic compounds and derivatives of bath salt. The recommendation is a motion to approve an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft, adding a chapter to the Taft Municipal Code prohibiting the production, distribution, and sale of synthetic compounds and derivatives called bath salts. Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion second. Mr. Norr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I pulled it, so.
Yes, you did.
I'm going to let Mr. Norr go ahead and speak.
You sure? I would defer.
I just want to make it public.
He missed last time.
Yeah, I wanted to make it public. I wanted to give you your shot.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
You know, we're getting a little late in the evening here, so.
Roger that. I'll make it short and sweet. That's why I didn't pull it for you, Mr. Mayor. However, it has been said by many people who came up to speak to the council this evening, we're talking about the effects of Prop 47. Prop 47, which makes it a misdemeanor for certain drug crimes. And the mayor himself said, well, when people are selling stolen items, they are doing so to support what? A habit. Why would we possibly want to make it okay for people to take their ill-gotten gains and legally go buy these poisons. These things are killers. Not only are they killers, but anybody low enough and of such low and disgusting moral character that's willing to make money by selling this trash, this poison to children for whatever reason and stand behind the fact that, well, they're abusing it, they're not using it the way they should, is a complete idiot. And deserves a place in some other city or municipality other than the city of Taft. And if that means that I'm business unfriendly because I don't want this garbage, this poison, sold to our populace, then I guess what? I'll wear that badge. That's exactly right. If you feel an absolute necessity and you cannot keep your doors open without selling this stuff, please take advantage of one of the freedoms of this country, and that is get the hell out of our community. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant?
Can I say ditto?
Yeah. Ms. Hill?
There's no topping that.
I have to concur. There's 4 businesses in this town that is selling that basalt. Hopefully we can control that and get that out of our city, and it's for the sake of our youth and our future there.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question for Mr. Jones. If we approve this ordinance tonight, when will it take effect? Or do we have another process we go through?
30 days.
And it'll go into effect 30 days from today? Okay. So that's why I wanted to make it public. I again agree with Councilman Noor. There's no reason for this stuff to be in this community. And the other terrible thing about it is any child can go in and buy it because it's not illegal to buy. So we're just being preventative here in the community. We hope that other communities in Kern County and throughout the state will follow our lead. So there we go. Madam Clerk, will you pull the board, please? Or roll call the council.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Noor?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Miller?
Yes. Thank you. 30 days. Hope they do it, get it off their shelves now. I understand where we're coming from. Item number 15, Senator letter of support. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. At the February 3rd, 2015 council meeting, Tony Cordova of Cedar Grove requested support of Taft City Council for their proposed plan expansions. Mayor Miller, with concurrence from full council, directed staff to draft letter in support of the council approval. I will add that myself, the mayor, Councilman Cryer, Mark Staples, and Christy Lowe with the Public Works Department had an opportunity to visit Cedar Grove. They explained to us exactly what it is that they were talking about doing, and I believe that we're all in full support. We understand what they're doing now. So, that's all I have.
Okay. We have some Senegal representatives in the audience tonight. I need to have a motion, then I'll have you be able to come up and speak. I have a recommendation, a motion to approve the letter of support for Senegal South Kern Compost Manufacturing Facility and authorize the mayor to sign the letter.
Motion.
Second.
A motion is second. You have any comments?
Well, my comment would be that the mayor and I, and then from the city staff were there, and they have a first-class operation at the facility, bar none. And also, not only that, they give back to our community an awful lot. Give to the chamber, community gardens, and different other nonprofits that's needed, and help them achieve their goals and helping the community and supporting the community. And you just can't ask for a better neighbor than Cedar Grove. And what they're doing is they're bringing economy, even though they're outside our city limits, we're bringing economy here to Taft. They're growing, hiring people from our city. Hopefully they'll grow in the future. I'd like to see Taft support the good growth and the green project, and I think it's a good choice in supporting support letter for their continued change in their CUP, the cheese permit. That's what I have to say.
Who had the second?
Ms. Hill.
Huh?
I did.
Do you have any comment?
I do not.
Mr. Brett?
No further comment.
Mr. Noor?
I will reserve my time for when you invite Lori Louder and the rest of the staff to come up here and comment. I would, and the reason I ask that is I know that the word expansion's been used multiple times here, and if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't by you, so I would enjoy some clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Again, we were out there, and the reason we went out to meet with the folks and met with Tony Cordova was to answer some questions, some of the real concerns that we had, and all of our questions and concerns were answered. So, Lori, we haven't seen you around for quite a while. It's good to see you back.
You have
Would
not,
give
and
your
I've missed
name and address,
coming to
please?
Taft. I'm Lori Loader, and my address is 1435 Williams Court in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it snowed yesterday before I left. So I'm glad to be
In a
here.
hurricane, that happened last year, didn't it?
I miss being home. We are actually not seeking an expansion. What we are seeking to do is accept food waste at our site to help the state with recycling mandates that are for AB 32. So to help the state with preventing organics from going into the landfill. Also, we're looking at changing the way we use our airflow system. So Dave, Councilman Knorr, you will remember that we have a negative aeration similar to a vacuum cleaner. We want to change that to make it a positive, where we're blowing air up through the pile, and we use our compost as our filter now. We actually did a research project through the Air District, and it'll actually help us reduce our emissions from our equipment on site. So even more positive environmental benefits through changing that type of composting.
So you're not going to capture those, you're going to obviously suck in air and you're going to blow it up through the percolation, if you will. Is that going to create some issues with aromatic issues, if you will?
No, sir. No,
How
because
so?
there's a foot of compost on top of it. They'll actually help capture those VOC and ammonia emissions. We actually did a research project, did a standard source test through those piles.
If I may also include it, it's supposed to eliminate one of the touches that we use on the process. By elimination of the touches, we also reduce the potential for what you had asked for.
Yeah, so we'll actually, as we typically do currently under our operation, we have a compliance area where we compost. We then pick up that material and move it to a curing area. And so there's a couple touches there. So we're moving the material through the system. Under the new composting style, so it'll be a positive aeration with a compost filter, we can actually leave the compost there throughout curing and composting. So it'll actually reduce some of those odor impacts.
So you believe that by going to the positive airflow, you're really going to reduce odor, but you're also going to reduce fugitive dust emissions, if you will, from the compost pile and from moving compost pile? Because you have to keep a certain amount of moisture in that so that you don't have dust emissions.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, throughout the research project, we did identify certain parameters and aspects to the positive area, and one of those parameters is maintaining a moisture content on the top. So part of the new process is also going to have a sprinkling watering system to maintain that, and it's going to be on I'm looking to be on an automated control right now of getting it on there from a moisture input into the PLC process, and then it'll turn the sprinklers on and off depending upon the need for the compost itself.
Plus, you're going to be introducing additional moisture into the whole process through the
positive
food waste, right? It'll be moist when it comes in.
Yeah.
All of our material, it maintains a certain moisture spec as per the design or for composting itself. So we maintain that spec. The food waste and the other material is going to fall within that spec.
What type of outreach have you done to your neighbors? I mean, obviously, and I'll let the world know who doesn't know, when this whole process began, I was a critic of using one of the products that you use, sludge, okay, human sludge. I was a critic of human sludge. This county fought a hard-fought battle and spent a great deal of money to keep LA's sludge out of Kern County, and I'm sure everybody remembers that. And obviously, the reason that I had issues with it was public safety, right? And that's always going to be a concern for all of us. Obviously, it is for you too on your business plan. It'll be interesting to see how it works. I believe what the mayor said and other council members and city manager that went out there and witnessed it. I'll have to see it for myself, but I have undying faith in these individuals. So if you impress them, then obviously you've done a good thing. But have you gone to your neighbors? What type of outreach have you had to your neighbors such that you explain to them that there will be a process if indeed it does take place, and you would want their feedback, so to speak? I mean, you're going to be open and transparent and proactive in that regard?
Correct, and I'll take this one. The whole thing, it's a very good question, council member. The process for the outreach, we've actually stepped that up into the engagement with our neighbors. Recently, they installed the new terminal, the crude oil terminal. I know the terminal manager there. I've gone out there and we've worked in a relationship of building a good neighborly relationship, because, you know, they bring in the trains. It has an impact on our operation, and we do have a composting manufacturing facility that's going to have, you know, right next door to their operation. So we've built that relationship, and we're on a good working relationship right now. I've also gone out there and engaged into the Taft manufacturing facility. There's a new manager there as well, and we've shared and communicated resources. We've gone out and seeked public rescue plans and, you know, impacts and stuff like that. And at the same time, we've also invited a lot of our interested parties into our BMP. It's our Biosolids Management Program under the EMS structure, and that allows us to communicate with all of our neighbors, interested parties. We email the annual reports. We engage, we encourage visitors, tours, individuals, you know, the council member. You guys are always welcome to come out into the facility and give a site. We've actively increased our engagement with the local enforcement agency. So our LEA, they've got a really good relationship with them, where I could call them up and ask them for any type of guidance or advice, and she's more than willing to help me out in that regards. She comes back and she does her monthly inspections, and it's nothing but positive, and the physical perception of the facility has been turned over and is looking a lot more advanced and clean.
So the end result of what you're asking for here is going to be additional production, but you're not handling additional biosolids. Is that correct?
Correct. It's the process change of what we're looking at doing, and we're not increasing or we're not decreasing. We're just looking at manipulating the way that we do it to improve on the environment.
All right.
It is not an expansion under our
Correct.
current permit limits.
All right. And no increase in the volume of biosolids coming into the
Correct.
facility or into the community?
Correct.
None.
We
Thank
really
you very
want to
much.
help, we really are looking to help the state with recycling food waste. The state has stated in order to meet the mandates under AB 32, they will need 100 more compost sites across the state to manage these organic materials that they want to pull out of landfills. So we've got the spot. We don't want to increase that tonnage. We want to bring in additional feedstocks, and one of those is food waste.
Well, then I will support that. I appreciate that clarification. I'll look forward to coming out and seeing it for myself. And it was interesting that we talked about a green project when we began here, because prior to your explanation, a green project wasn't what I was thinking of. It was more of a brown tint. But I appreciate that clarification. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for inviting them.
Question?
Mr. Bryant?
No.
We'd love to have you for a visit.
Always more than
I look
welcome.
forward to it.
Ms. Hill?
No comment.
Mr. Cryer?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We had a privilege of going to a facility. Now, you take our sludge, right? Our crap from our ponds?
I do.
Over there?
I do.
Okay, yeah, that's a
Without
benefit for our
prejudice.
city.
We're looking forward to that, huh, Chief?
And second, what you guys are doing on your process, you know, you're taking out about 97% more.
So through the R&D research, we were able to uncover or be able to capture a 98% VOC and NH3 emissions.
And I've asked a question on a cap and trade on the credit thing, that's going back as credit to the county for...
So part of our process with the San Joaquin Valley Air District is we've submitted an application for the grant fund and part of their whole TAP project. If that TAP project meets the criteria, then those emissions that we save are going to be eliminated completely from the San Joaquin Valley.
That would help us...
So that would lower our footprint within the valley as a whole. That part of that project is they have this allotted amount of what they can issue out. Some of them you could go out there and buy them on the market. They are reusable. But what we're looking to do is completely eliminate them. We're not going to put them out there on the market for resale. What the San Joaquin Valley Air Board is going to eliminate them altogether.
And also that they're in favor of your project.
They're in support of, as well as our Regional Water Quality Control Board and our local enforcement agent, the Kern County Public Health.
I'd like to thank you for what you do to the community, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure a lot of people in the audience here that are beneficiaries of what you do. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We all know stuff flows downhill. And it winds up out in here, our ponds, and it fills our ponds up. And that stuff has to go somewhere. And gratefully it goes to a facility like yours that is first class, doing it right, complying by all the laws, that has not had any fines or regulators coming down to shut you down. You've been a good neighbor to the city of Taft, and you don't have to. You're 11 miles out of town, but you choose to, and we appreciate that. This letter of support is based, for me, is based on the concerns that we had, the tour that we went out, and the questions that you forthrightly gave back to us and relieved those fears, especially for staff and myself, and I appreciate it very much. So with that, Madam Clerk, will you take roll call, please?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Nortz?
Yes.
Councilmember Pryor?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Miller?
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote, and we thank the Center Grove folks for being here. The next item we're going to do is go into closed session, but before we do, I want to recognize a person in the audience tonight that I feared wouldn't show up, but he did, and he's sporting a white beard instead of the traditional black beard. And I've been working on mine for about a month and a half now, and Bill Nichols has probably been growing that for about 2 weeks, I suppose. So, good luck, Bill. You took first place away from me, but I look forward to the competition when it comes with Scarino in October. Item going into closed session for a conference with real property negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8, 410 supply.